Hi there, this is Kamala. Welcome to this episode of the Heart and Chutzpah podcast. I'm so glad that you're listening in. And today I am so excited. I have a guest who I just adore. I recently found a quote by Albert Schweitzer that just sort of keys right in onto this guest. So I'd like to read that first and then introduce my wonderful person. In everyone's life at some time, our inner fire goes out. It is then burst into flame by an encounter by another human being. We should all be thankful for those people who rekindle our inner spirit. And my guest has done that for me. That quote is by Albert Schweitzer, and my guest today is Dr. Doreen Downing, who, as I say, I just adore her. So I'm so glad that you're here, Doreen. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Anytime I can have a conversation with you, it just feels like that we tap into more of the mystery and the unknown, and it's just a wondrous time. That's really the truth for me. Yes. And thank you for the acknowledgement.
Yeah. So Dr. Doreen Downing is a psychologist, author, speaker, and host of the Find Your Voice, Change Your Life podcast. Her book, 7 Secrets to Essential Speaking, has become an instrument for many people to tap into their inner strengths, to speak authentically and with that deep sense of confidence. With all of these professional accomplishments and titles, you may think that Doreen, has never suffered from stage fright or being afraid to speak in public. But the truth is that she worked for years to overcome this debilitating condition and finally discovered that she relaxed and had confidence in speaking when she recognized that it's being connected to the essence of who you are that allows you to drop in and establish this confidence. Doreen now teaches other people, myself included, to find their amazing, authentic voice so they can be more confident to express their passion and share their messages. So again, thank you, Doreen. I'm so glad that you're here.
Oh, yeah. Well, the personal relationship and having experienced me is, I think, partly why you want to do this is thank you for sharing me with your audience. And your audience must already love you because you give a lot of, speaking of the light or the fire within, you must do that for people.
Yeah, that's my hope.
Yes.
So I know that oftentimes, people like to talk about what they're doing now. And to me, that's the heart. And Doreen is like all heart to me. I just have to share the first time I met Doreen. This is how amazing she is and her work. The first time I met Doreen was at a speaking circle. So I'd driven to the Bay Area and I walked into the room and I was so scared because speaking was not my strong suit. And the first time I got up in front of the group, Doreen was at the back of the room and I just glanced at her and it was like everything melted away. The connection was it's like, I can do this. And getting that you can do this from her.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice. Yeah, that's
absolutely.
true. That's true. That's what I see in people. And even when they can't believe in themselves or feel that inside of themselves, I think having somebody that sees it, kind of witnesses it, and there must be something inside that, well, you just explained it. Yes, there was something inside that responded by being seen for the depth and the inner light that's waiting to shine.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And look at you shining today.
That was a while back, but it was like it's always good. And I have to share too that I was talking with my husband just before we got on, and I said,
Uh-huh,
I know there's notice I'm a little nervous, even, after all
uh-huh,
this time. I said, but the really good thing is I'm
uh-huh.
speaking with my speaking circle mentor.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so again, I'm just really jazzed that you're here.
Mhm,
Um, and the audience is going to be able to experience and hear more about the work that you do. So that's the heart. Um, but there's also, we talk about the chutzpah. So it took chutzpah
uh-huh.
to
Oh,
get to this place.
yeah.
So would you mind sharing just a little bit about your journey? Because I know it wasn't always easy.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Well, I could go back to what I finally discovered what some of the root cause, but I think I'll start with when I woke up to the fact that I needed to do something about that. I already had my PhD, I had a doctorate in psychology of all things. And I love listening to people. And speaking of heart, I bring my heart to my sessions. And it's safe in just one little room, with somebody, one person sitting across from me, and put 5 people in a room looking at me. It was scary. Isn't that something, that I went through my whole PhD program, learned how to deal with fears, but I never really worked on my own, never admitted it, kind of began to hide behind those titles. And nobody would believe that I had public speaking anxiety.
Right.
But nobody knew because I never put myself in the spotlight.
Yeah.
So then somebody asked me to speak at a conference, and I said, no way. And they said, but doctor, isn't fear your business?
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Kind of a confrontation.
Yeah.
But it's so many people, and this is what I want to say to your listeners who may be feeling shy, introverted, which I am, hold themselves back, but they begin to think that that's their identity. That's who I am. I'm doing fine. I'm successful at my business. I do psychotherapy with people. Yes, and they love it, and they get out in the world and do what they want to do. And I'm okay. There's an self-acceptance of the fact that you're shy, introverted, and public speaking isn't your thing. And for anybody today that is listening to this, I want to challenge that. That's what my work is about, is how to wake people up to there's potential inside that we could tap into and bring out. There's more freedom to be able to express yourself. And I'm not just talking about having a microphone and getting up on a stage. I'm talking to, well, like just showing up at a dinner table with an extended family, or at a wedding, or, a lot of more public, but not necessarily you're a public speaker.
Right.
But everywhere you go, there you have your voice. And do you feel confident?
Yeah. And I'm beginning to really realize we're all part of this grand plan, and we all have our parts to play. We all have a voice and a message. Maybe it's a little one, maybe it's a bigger one. And if we don't share it, mm, I'm all of a sudden thinking of my mother who
Mm,
died what I call an unlived life because she didn't share who she was. And I
mhm.
think there are just so many of us who want to have something to share,
Yeah,
but are afraid to get out there. And your work is, as I know, is amazing. It just, oh,
yes,
you listen it out of us. You
yes.
listen it out. Yeah.
Well, I think that's why I became a therapist in the first place, is the listening. And then Well, to go back to what you said was my journey, when I finally was confronted, and then I said, okay, okay, it's time. Wake up. Let's go see, because something about the readiness to face fear is important.
Mhm.
Like you traveling all the way, I guess, from Sacramento to the Bay Area to do that first training. You got to be willing to take yourself to your fear and put yourself smack dab in the middle of it. And I don't mean throw yourself in the deep end, find a place that's safe. It's a shallower area in which you can just dip your toes in and feel a little bit of anxiety and then get comfortable there. And then a little bit more and then get comfortable there. And pretty soon you're swimming in oceans
Yeah.
because you've finally made the change. But where my first step was Toastmasters, because that's a place people know to overcome fear. And I stayed in that for 7 years. I won awards and I learned vocal variety. You and I are laughing. Yes. And
Yeah.
gestures, right? And how to make a beginning, middle, end, and how to do funny things and entertain and influence. But I was still able to hide.
Yes.
There was still a little vulnerable part of me, a little Doreen that was still scared to come out. And that's when I realized I had to do deeper work, inner work, and it could be seen as therapy, but it's really, I needed to, and that's what therapy is. You find a safe place for somebody to listen it out of you, whatever the pain is or the old trauma, or maybe you had an older sibling who was more verbal, or maybe it's just cultural. You shouldn't say anything. Kids are to be seen, not heard. Whatever the message is culturally. And so that's why I started doing speaking circles where the audience is only encouraged to give positive essence appreciation, not about the content, just about what radiates that natural brilliance, magnificence that is still inside of you, no matter how many layers you have on top of it. And that was the beginning of me going, I can't hide anymore.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know, was that your I can't hide anymore kind of sense?
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. It's like yeah, I can sit back with the degrees and everything is good. Life is good. And yet for me, there was just there's something more for you, you know.
Uh-huh.
And I know that I should when I was little, I liked speaking at the front of the class.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But once I
Yeah.
had that,
Huh.
don't get up unless you have something important to say, I just shut down. That teacher was like, it was
Uh,
so tough. Anyway, so um,
uh-huh.
yeah, it was just, okay, I don't have anything important to say. So I just shut down. So
Yeah.
that little girl, as you were talking about little Doreen, was like
Uh-huh.
still in there. I have something to say. It may not be important to you, but it's important to me, right?
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that sense. I too actually was quite popular in high school. I was the head of all the cheerleaders and pom-pom girls. So I was just everything. I was elected to be that.
Yeah.
It was called School Spirit Commissioner.
Ah,
Isn't that something?
I love it.
And I was homecoming queen. So I was not the shy little one then. So what happened to me later in life when I started school and kind of getting out into the world, I started to shrink. Isn't that
Mm.
something?
Yeah.
And I mean, I do know why, but that's also, I work with people who come to me and say, I didn't used to, I mean, like what you're saying, I didn't used to be this way, but something's happened. Or just somebody I started today with working with is that he's always been comfortable, easy, and somewhere along the line, not too long ago, he had a panic attack.
Mm,
Just uncommon, uncharacteristic. And since then, he's been plagued with, he called it the panic of the panic.
mm.
So that's what we're going to be working on. I can't wait to get back in touch with him about finding the this inner strength, the deep inner strength that's underneath that traumatized moment
Yeah,
for him.
yeah. I,
Like your traumatized moment when the teacher says,
right.
shut up or
Basically, don't get up here. I don't want to hear from you, kid.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So, and now you've written a book too. So you do the counseling, you also offer circles in the Bay Area, right?
I,
Still.
yeah, Berkeley, once a month in Berkeley,
Okay.
speaking to people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you how else are you bringing your work out? Because you've got
Mhm.
such great stuff and people need to know
Oh,
about you, Doreen, you know.
yeah. Well, it's a little bit harder to market because yes, I am online. I have absolute presence. I do master classes. They're called Find Your Voice and Speak Up Now. The three secrets to embrace your true self, so
Mm,
that people get to see that confidence is much more about the inner work as opposed to finding better Toastmastery techniques, performance techniques. So marketing to people to say you can find your voice, you can speak up, but you have to do the work. They rather just like give me a tip, please.
right, right.
And so I give them a tip, soften your eyes when you're speaking, gaze into gently into the eyes of the others, and I call it eye presence, not eye contact. So that would be a one tip that maybe some people could take away with them today,
Yeah,
is this whole idea about the how important the eyes are in helping us to relax if we feel nervous.
yeah. I love that. And it was not eye can't contact, eye presence.
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes,
taking it
yes.
away. Oh.
Yeah, no, it's something because I talk about the IP muscle, the inner presence muscle.
Mm,
And so marketing presence, I mean, I'm not a Tara Brock or a Brene Brown, but it is much more I'm more in that camp
mm,
and helping people overcome public speaking fears. um, I think I appeal to those types who want to or have an appreciation for the inner self, the inner life, the inner journey.
yeah, absolutely. And you've also been doing your podcast for a couple of years now, almost.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, let's talk about that a bit because people need to. I'll
Yeah.
put the link in the show notes and
Yes.
because it's a great podcast because well, I'll let you share about it.
135 episodes and
Yay.
still going strong, where
Awesome.
I get to interview people like you who talk about their journey and what stopped them along the way from having a voice, whether it was something like the guy I talked about earlier who just had a panic attack, or whether it was some early trauma, or whether it was a school situation where they were bullied as youngsters. That everybody in the podcast world, this is where people are really real. They tell their stories. They don't just come on and say, buy my book and this is where I talk about it and I could teach you this, that. It's more about, yeah, this is the story behind me now. Isn't that?
Yeah.
I love the peeling back the covers and going, wow, it wasn't so easy. Kind of like what you did with me. Yeah, it wasn't so easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It
it's
takes something, you know?
okay. And as long as you're saying, as long as I just said that, I might as well do this part.
Mm,
And it might apply to you too, because yes, the teacher at some point said, don't speak up unless you have something important to say. And you had kind of a younger sense of being more comfortable out there, talking, being the center of attention. I would say you and I have a lot of a similar journey that way. I think I put on little costumes for my family growing up and did a little performance. I think it was, I don't know, Ricky Nelson and sing songs. But when I did do some of the deeper dive stuff, I got even earlier in my life.
Mhm.
And you spoke about your mother a minute ago, and it's kind of emotional. My mother was bipolar, and so she had swings. And when she was really, really depressed, she'd go away to the hospital. And my grandmother, when she took care of us, when my mom came back, would say, "I'm doing be quiet or your mom's going to get sick and have to go back to
Oh,
the hospital." So, when I know that may not sound like, well, how did that show up later in life? But that's what I connected to, some deeper kind of, because that's where we first, those early years, 3, 4, 5, 6, is when we're coming out to our first in social environment, our family, our siblings, and we're saying, hello.
I'm here.
Yes. And so I would suggest, and maybe we can, anybody in the audience could look back and say, is there a root? Something other I haven't really been able to see yet that could explain why now in my adult life I have anxiety that shows up around speaking in front of others.
Yeah,
It's a deep, deep group. And I didn't find that till I really did some inner journey work.
right. And that it is an important piece. It's like, wouldn't it be nice if you could magic wand it and, like you say, here are 3 tips and just do this and this and this. And if I if I
Mhm.
say you'll click my little clicker thing and
Yeah.
remind me, oh, don't say or ah. I'm sorry, Toastmaster stuff.
Yes.
But
Oh.
it's
Yes.
it would be nice. And that's not reality. There's
Well, and just maybe for listeners, what would be one of your earlier roots before you remember feeling comfortable and happy, getting out in front of the class? I mean, I do know you a little bit, so I do know
right.
the story, and you were on my podcast, so I get a little bit about the pressure you might have felt to
Yeah,
look good.
yeah. There was a lot about being a good girl
Mhm.
and you know be
Mhm.
quiet when daddy comes home, and a pretty domineering father who wanted everybody's attention. It's like, so you had no voice really. So I got into first grade and I'm like, oh, I have an audience here. I get to
I
share.
get it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice. Thank you.
that's one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. And as the listeners, what you just heard is that there may be several kind of roots that get all tangled up way back in your unconscious.
yeah.
And
And
that's,
it's, I think in many ways those types of things build a foundation,
mm,
and you can
uh,
step out, but this foundation of
ah,
don't talk, or
yes.
it's not safe to talk.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That I just really got it even stronger right now. You calling it a foundation is that we become adults and there's still maybe a wink. That was like a weak link. Yes, a weak link back there, or
Yeah.
a stone that is kind of out of place, and we need to reinforce the good inside of our spirit.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, bringing that aliveness, alive spirit, inner
Yeah,
spirit
yeah,
forward and forward and forward.
yeah,
And as I'm saying that, I'm thinking and really acknowledge those steps that we take.
yeah,
It's within a speaking circle. It's positive essence. Um, they call it something different now. Positive essence, basically, though,
yes.
acknowledging what's
Essence appreciation.
essence appreciation.
Yeah, appreciating the essence. I would say that Lee, the founder of Speaking Circles, and the very first one I went to, my feedback was magnetic.
Mm,
And I was sitting there quivering or standing there. We were standing
right,
in the
right.
group, quivering.
Mm,
How could he even see that I had something called magnetism? And that's because there's some truth inside of me that is much more coming from warmth and positivity, and that draws in people as opposed to my fright. He was able to see through the fright and
mm.
see the positive spirit,
Oh,
just like I saw it in you too.
yeah.
So
I love that. And I think so many of us want that. I
yeah.
think the world is full of people who just want want to know that other people see that in them.
Mhm.
Oh, I love it. I just love your work. I love your work, Doreen. Yeah. I think we're coming to a bit of a close,
Yeah,
and I could talk with you for hours.
yes,
I
yeah.
wish we had that time today. Um, but I know that you have a gift that you'd like to be able to share with the listeners, and I can put that on in the show notes. But would you want to
Okay.
mention it just briefly?
Well, if it's the one I gave you, it's Your Guide to Magnetic Speaking, which goes right along with what I just said. And
Yeah.
if that's not what I gave you, let me make sure and
That's
send that to you because it's a 15-page, lot of pictures, by the way, about what I call 7 secrets and my whole approach to speaking is about being. It's not about learning to be a better speaker. It's learning to be it's learning to be yourself. So the first secret is be still. And of course, you need to learn how to be still, and be present is the second one. And then there are 5 more secrets, and they all begin with something about being, right?
yes, yes. Oh, thank you so much, Doreen. And again, I'll put the link in the show notes so people can get
Definitely.
that. Mm, just a joy. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I often ask people when I remember to to share if you could list or whisper into the ear of a younger part of you, what would you like to whisper to her?
Um, I am here.
Mm,
I am here with you. I will never, ever leave your side. I will never, ever go away. I will always stay. You can lean on me. I
mm.
guess that's why my favorite song is Lean on Me.
Well, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And the other favorite song is, the one about I'll be watching you.
Mm,
And it's a good thing for me.
yeah. No, sometimes it's like, I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, but if your spirit, your most positive spirit, your essence is always with you and she's watching you and not without judgment, just always embraced. I always feel embraced.
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Well,
Thank you.
thank you, Doreen.
Yes.
And thank you to our listeners. I hope you enjoy this. I'm sure you will. And until next time, again, this is Kamala Murphy, Heart and Chutzpah podcast. Thank you so much. Blessings. Bye for now.